So I've seen several videos on YouTube floating around that talk about why acting upon homosexuality is a sin. And these people often go into the scriptures that talk about it, why it's like unnatural, why it's not glorifying God. And it just baffles me how these people, they're so fixated on what the scripture says, what the community say, what the church says, and never really stop for a moment and think, like, how do I really feel about it personally? First and foremost, we don't actually know who wrote the Bible. The Bible was translated many, many times from generation to generation, and there's no actual definitive proof that God actually wrote it. So, when people argue that there's no definitive proof that homosexuality is something you're born with, that is actually a choice, in my mind, it's just kind of hypocritical that they say that God is the ultimate answer, that God is something you can't argue with. It just seems hypocritical to me because, if anything, from my perspective, it's a lot harder to prove that the Bible was actually written by God, by a being we've never seen before. That I personally sometimes have my doubts about whether or not he exists, because, I mean, that's normal. When you can't really see something, you're gonna have your doubts on whether or not it exists. And while I do believe that God exists, it's just crazy how, like, hypocritical that argument is to me. And so, at the end of the day, here's what I think about it. I do believe there are different interpretations for these so-called anti-homosexuality scriptures in the Bible. When these passages were written, it was a different time, there was different context, there were different things going on. And so you can't definitively say that marrying someone of the same sex or having sex with someone of the same sex is a sin because different things were going on at the time. Times are different now compared to what it was a long time ago. Now, there's also the argument that homosexuality is unnatural. And I would like to argue against that because oftentimes in nature, animals, for example, we often see instances where they have sex with other animals of the same sex. They came out of another animal's womb. There's obviously biodiversity. So you can't say that's unnatural just because it's like not the majority thing that happens. It's not like homosexual people, it's not like LGBTQ people were manufactured in a factory. They all came out of a mother's womb. So how is that unnatural? We're all born different. We are all born unique. And just because someone is born in a way where another person disagrees with them doesn't make it unnatural. So let's just assume for a second that at the end of the day, God was the one who actually wrote the Bible, and acting upon your homosexuality is a sin that will land you in hell. I would much rather be in hell with my loved ones who are LGBTQ than be in heaven with people who are homophobic and bigoted and cannot accept people for who they are and cannot listen to an argument that doesn't agree with theirs. I do not want to be in heaven with a God who is a dictator and who only accepts people who are straight and will not allow LGBTQ people to love who they want to love. I think it's fucked up that people say, oh, it's okay to be LGBTQ as long as you don't act upon your desires. That's just really damaging. Now, there are some instances where sexuality becomes morphed due to trauma, which is something that people against LGBTQ community often argue for. But to say that every single instance of homosexuality is due to trauma, I think that's pretty extreme. And at the end of the day, whether or not it's a choice or something you're born with, you love who you love. And I don't think anybody has the right to tell you that you can't love someone just because it doesn't meet their religious beliefs. And there's also the argument that because homosexuality means you can't reproduce, makes it not okay, because we need to continue to spread our genes and reproduce in order to maintain the population. Well, nowadays with technology, you actually can have a baby with a same-sex couple. It's called having a surrogate mother. But also, when determining whether or not homosexuality is right or wrong, why is one of the metrics whether or not the couple is able to reproduce? It's okay if you don't want to have children, and you're not wrong for not wanting to have children. You're not wrong for being unable to have children. It's just crazy how reproduction is like so highly placed on a pedestal that not wanting to have it is like something crazy in today's society. Obviously, times are getting more and more progressive. Like, a lot more people, they're starting to be okay with not marrying, not having children, and, you know, all the power to them. And I think that's really, really great. If God truly loves us unconditionally and accepts us for who we are, then same-sex marriage and same-sex relations, they would be okay in his eyes. Because to tell someone that they can have their desires but can't act upon them, that they must remain celibate, I think that's pretty fucked up. And it only leads to more problems. And look, here's something I want to leave you guys with. Just stop for a moment and think to yourself, is this really something I'm okay with believing in? And to my gay brothers, if you want to suck some dick, go suck some dick, man. It's all good. And to my gay sisters, if you want to eat some pussy, go eat some pussy, man. Good stuff. I love all you guys. And that's my take on it. I just really think people need to start thinking for themselves. And then maybe things will start to change, you know? So that's all for today. I love you guys, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.